City podcast.
And ladies and gentlemen, another edition of Keys to the City. I'm your host, Trevor Keys, alongside the big brother T3, Ted Keys. Ted, it is a football Friday, but I guess we also have the memo that it is Black Tea Friday with the Keys brothers, as we are both wearing black tees right now. I guess we didn't have that planned, but yes, we are here for another football edition. You can check out Keys to the City on all social media platforms, Spotify, YouTube as well included, as well as clovercrestmedia.com for many more podcasts like Keys to the City. We will not be talking about Aaron Judge because he's still on number 60 and good old, if any people want to watch that moment, if you have Apple TV.
No, Amazon Prime.
It's on Apple TV too. So it's on Amazon Prime and Apple TV. Way to go, millionaires and billionaires. That's smart thinking, smart marketing right there. Well, let's get over to the NFL. No, we're not going to talk about the Thursday night game because, well, what do we expect? Pittsburgh's the same old. Mitch Trubisky looks like he needs to go. And the Cleveland Browns, well, it wasn't pretty, but they found a way to win. No, we're going to talk about a make or break type weekend. And I know it's week 3 and everybody's like, oh God, why are we freaking out? It's in this sense, we'll get to it. What I'm talking about specifically with the Dolphins and Bills game. And we will be talking about the Sunday night football game between the Denver Broncos and the San Francisco 49ers. But there is a mega matchup and maybe, well, without certain, the last time we are going to see the matchup between Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady this Sunday. Ted, you've seen how these two teams have played so far. Let's be honest, it hasn't been pretty. I know the Buccaneers are 2-0, one of 3 teams left in the NFC that are 2-0. It isn't because of their offense. And the Green Bay Packers, we know what week 1 showed. Disappointment, struggles, but come back week 2, and good old, you get to play the Chicago Bears, who, as we like to say, Aaron Rodgers is owner of the Chicago Bears. So, Ted, you look at the way these two teams are coming into this game. I know a combined 3-1, but hasn't looked anything but how it's been the past couple of years where they have been dominant. They've been the top of the food chain in the NFC. They've been representing the NFC. But you look at these two teams, the Bucs offensive line, and I could even say the lack of weapons, just like due to injuries, I should say, and the Packers. So let me start off with you. Well, let me go to you because you're the only one here. I forgot because Joseph Aguirre is not here, and he'll be back next week.
Hey, guy from over there.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, Henry, how you doing? Anyways, to you, which is the more concerning weakness going into this game? Is it Green Bay's lack of weapons? And I know they won last week, and everybody's like, oh, they won. They look good. Well, they played Chicago Bears. Nothing to be impressed with. Or is it the Bucs offensive line to you? Or the lack of weapons with the Bucs, I should say, too. As you can add the O-line and the lack of weapons in that category.
With this, the whole game is concerning. It's a very weird game. Both teams actually have issues on the offensive line. You know, Bakhtiari has been dealing with injuries for Green Bay, and if you watch their offensive line, they were not impressive against Minnesota, and they weren't really impressive against Chicago either. Aaron Rodgers dealt with a lot of pressure, especially early in the first half. Yeah. You know, but they end up doing what they do normally against Chicago, finding ways to win, dominate. And most of the reasoning was because they went through their 2 backs, AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones.
As they should.
Yes, and I think that's something that if they're going to have success this weekend, that is something that they are going to have to rely on personally. Again, because Aaron Jones is probably their best offensive player. And it's is their best offensive player versatility-wise in the passing game and in the running game. And then AJ Dillon brings the quadzilla thighs to the line, and he's a boulder. He's 250-pound, 6'2" running back who can catch the ball in the backfield, power, but can do a little bit of everything. But this whole game is very concerning. I tell you, if you're a betting man, take the under. All right.
Yeah, the under is at 41 right now, which is unheard of for this type of matchup.
Absolutely. But look at the two teams, right? I mean, we talked about in the preseason, the Buccaneers, how would they even play against the Cowboys? They were missing, 3 of their 5 linemen. They've been dealing with injuries. And then I just had it up, but I want to make sure I had it right. So this is what we're looking at, right? So the Buccaneers won't have Pro Bowler Mike Evans, who was suspended this week after last week's incident. Mm-hmm. They also will be without Chris Godwin and Julio Jones, who's missed week 2 so far. And this is all so far. You know, I mean, it's not guaranteed, but looks like all three of those guys will be out. Okay. And in Green Bay, right now, Alan Lazard, well, for fantasy, of course, I thought he'd have a big season. Hasn't done crap, but he's dealing with an ankle injury. Randall Cobb has been out for illness. Sammy Watkins is dealing with a hamstring injury, added to his long list of career injuries. The guy's never been healthy for more than one season, I think, in his life. Christian Watson has a hamstring, so he missed practice on Thursday. So right now, this is who Tom Brady will be throwing to. Rashad Perriman, Russell Gage, who I don't think he's even played this whole season, Scotty Miller, and Cole Beasley, who they just picked up out of the frozen food section this past Sunday. Then Aaron Rodgers, he's looking to throw to Romeo Dubes, Amari Rodgers, and Juwan Winfrey, and some guy named Samori Toure. And someone's going to make fun of me and say, Ted, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Sir, I never heard of his name, so that means he's not important to me. The whole game is concerning, right? What I would say to you in this is what defensive line can have the most impact in the game would be the difference in why it will be the reasoning why these games went. Because the Bucs defense, even though it's not number one, I think San Francisco is the number one ranked defense right now in the league. The Bucs defense has been dominant through 2 weeks. Total dominant, all right? They all over the field, right? And what I think they said, I saw the Bucs only scored like 2 or 3 touchdowns all season. So, and they're 2-0, and, we're not talking about the Giants and things, but they have not been impressive. I know that's how you led off this segment, but I would say whatever team can get a lead and then the defense do what they do best and put pressure on the quarterbacks. Brady, I feel like when I look at the game from the outside perspective and not reading anything, Brady does much more. He is much more prolific with the ball in his hand when dealing with pressure. Just off the top of my head, if I had to, you know what I mean? I feel like Rodgers kind of scuffles and bows down or throws the ball away, and Brady will stand in there a little bit more so. Maybe that's just me outside thinking. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. But both of these defenses should have fun this weekend. Yeah. Just terrorizing both offenses.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you did ask which weakness is more concerning.
I mean, honestly, you think about the lack of weapons.
Here's my thing.
Hold on. The lack of weapons still.
I'm going to answer real quick. I would say the Packers' lack of weapons. And the only reason why I say that is because the Bucs have been dealing with this type of offensive line situation for the past 2 weeks. So there would have been more part. Rodgers is a guy who likes to play with time. And he likes, we've talked about this before with Devontae Adams. He knows 10 yards, cut, step, Devontae's there, ball's right there, bang, boom. There is no chemistry he has built with any of his receivers. And that's, Randall Cobb has had that with him, Sammy really, but all these young receivers, and look at Rodgers the first week. He was so frustrated because guys not knowing what they're doing, where they need to be. And he's such a timing quarterback and a placement of where the ball, and there's probably no better guy in the league of putting the ball where it needs to be in the certain spot. But that means your receiver has to be where he needs to be at that certain time. And I would say right now, because of the defense that Tampa Bay has and how well they have played through 2 weeks, I'd say the weapons or the lack of weapons that the Packers have are going to really hurt them much more so than I think the offensive line, because Brady's used to it, and Brady has been used to it so far, and I think they can overcome that.
So these should not be no surprises coming into this season and coming into this game. We knew about the Packers losing Devontae. What was it going to look like, this offense? How were they going to run this offense? Were they going to be heavily involved in the running attack? Are they going to get A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones heavily involved? Week 1 kind of struggled. Maybe that's more credit to the Minnesota Vikings. But then you look at week 2, and I know it's week 2 and they won last week and they won comfortably, but it's still the Chicago Bears, who is in a rebuild mode, and a team that the Green Bay Packers have dominated in recent history. But then you look at the Bucs too. We've all said it. The Bucs were going to struggle with their offensive line coming into this. A new revamped line. You lose it, Kappa or Ted Karras and Ryan Jensen, the injuries that were going on in the offseason as well.
Well, we should not
be surprised by either one of these weaknesses right now. And I know it's only week 2, but like I was saying back in week 1, number 17 for the Green Bay Packers is not coming through those doors. And that's something that the Bucs will figure it out. The Packers, they still need to. And this is going to be a huge test for this offense, because yes, when you played against a solid defense in week 1, and I don't know how much we could take into credit or consideration, I should say, in the sense of the Minnesota Vikings, because we just saw them get smacked on Monday Night Football. Now, maybe it's because of due part of the offense struggling, but the defense still struggled at times too. So how much are we taking that into consideration? The Packers need to figure this out. They're going to have to figure this offense game plan each and every week. How are they going to utilize the weapons that they have? Now, I know you don't have Devontae Adams, but you still have a solid duo in the backfield. You have some sort of experience with Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard. If you could get healthy, you do have some weapons, but you don't have the big play receiver. You're going to get a true test this week. You're going to get a true test this. Yeah, that's true. You're going to get a true test this week because the Bucs D has been stout, and their offensive line, Aaron Rodgers, has been already sacked 7 times early on in 2 games.
And I feel like they'll match up.
You know why this is a bad thing? Do you know why it's a bad thing?
What's up?
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers lead the league currently in the sacks with 10 sacks right now. They're nasty. This defense, and the Buccaneers are 2-0, and it's not because of Brady. No. It's not because of this offense. And and you can say whatever you want. I know they're 2-0. They found ways to win in week 1, but this is all credited to this defense. This defense has been dominant. This defense gets after the ball. They get turnovers and they get after the quarterback and they hit you and they punch you in the mouth and they make your
really well.
But they make your game plans for 60 minutes a living hell. It's a nightmare right now. For the Saints, it was a nightmare, and for the Dallas Cowboys, it was a nightmare. So to me, this is an easy one. The O-line will get figured out. They're still 2-0. The offense hasn't looked pretty, but the Packers offense too hasn't looked pretty at times. They need to figure out this weapons, all these weapons that they have. I know it's not a huge. You don't have the alpha. You don't have the true presence in your receiving core. I get that.
But I don't think it would have even made that much of a difference. Still, one guy. Listen, it wasn't like.
It has. It has in the past.
Okay, not against the Bucs.
I get that, but that offense still was so great because everything revolved around. It took the pressure off of A.J. Dillon. It took the pressure off of Aaron Jones.
Yeah,
and
because you certainly
it certainly took the pressure off of Aaron Rodgers.
Here's my thing: the Bucs match up really well against him. Brady's 3-1 against Aaron Rodgers all time. All right, we saw what was it, 2020. I had it right up in me. They turned Rodgers over. Remember, they had the pick 6. They corralled Aaron Jones really well.
Yeah,
but this is going to be a close-knit game. All right, it should be. Yes, I would say somewhere in the teens to the low 20s, right? And here's the thing, though. This is the only thing I will say. Brady will force the ball, and Rodgers won't. So does it come down to a late turnover?
Yeah, but now with Brady, now let me ask you this quickly. With Brady and the injury bug and plus Mike Evans suspension, will he be aggressive still and take those shots I
don't think you take. And does home field advantage?
Does he change his mentality, his philosophy?
Does playing in Tampa at 80-degree weather have any?
I mean, it gets you a nice tan. It gets you a nice tan, that's for certain. But
I could use that. I could use that tan.
Me too. I ain't even gonna lie. I feel like I need a tan. It's been a lot of bad weather and soon incoming bad weather.
A lot of bad weather.
It's been a lot of bad weather here. Rain.
I thought it's beautiful. Everything is beautiful.
Just remember, in a month and a half, when it's 30 degrees and you're freezing your ass off, it will be a nice cool 80 and 70 degrees, and I'll be fine with that. So you don't worry about it. You can enjoy your nice little weather for the time being until it gets cold. Sorry, Northeast.
I won't throw a dagger. I had a good dagger, but I won't throw.
Come on, you can do it. It's okay. I took a shot at it. What are you gonna say?
Nothing.
Exactly. You got nothing. But this game should be great. I'm looking forward to it, and we have to take in consideration that this is going to be the last meeting.
The guy who loved the cold weather.
I hate. No.
You loved it.
Hold on.
Cut off sleeves.
I would still. If I was playing,
the steam coming off your head, the crowd. I mean, October 21st, you could have came down with Dad and watched the West Haven Showing game that I'm doing, or you could be announcing in the booth the North Haven football game.
Here's my thing about that quickly before we get into our next take. If I'm playing football, I'm going like this.
Yeah, because you had more meat on your body. I was skinny.
Look at me now. I'm solid, but what I'm saying is I don't need a long sleeve. But when it comes to when it comes to cold weather, like just hanging out in the cold, then no, I don't want to be wearing a t-shirt. I don't like that stuff. My blood is thinning now. It's thinner as it was 2 years ago.
Come
It's
back
not
up and
this.
come back up here and get it coagulated.
Word of the day, coagulated by Ted Keys. But look, we got to, all kidding aside, we have to take in consideration. This is going to be the last meeting between Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. So us fans, us football fans, let's enjoy it because two of the greats are soon going to be leaving this game. Tom Brady, oh, and by the way, they're the two oldest quarterbacks in the league right now. So let's enjoy it. It should be a fun one. Very curious to see how this Packers offense gets going against this stout defense of Tampa. The game of the week, in the sense of hype, because of the Buffalo Bills and how dominant it's been. And I know I see the question, is this a make or break for the Dolphins? What are you talking about, Trev? Why is this a make or break for the Dolphins? And I know it's only week 3, but the week that this Dolphins team has had, the attention that they have gotten, the headlines that they've been getting since last Sunday's miraculous comeback against the Baltimore Ravens. The reason why I say is this a make or break for the Dolphins, because the Bills are the standard of the AFC, just like the Chiefs. You have to match up, see how you match up with this team. And I know that it's only week 3, but also in the standpoint, this is your division rival. This is the standard of winning the AFC East. And hell, if you want to get to a Super Bowl, the Bills are going to be there in the end. So you have to look at it as a make or break from the standard of where the Buffalo Bills have reached. They are the top, just like the Kansas City Chiefs. Those two teams are at the top of the AFC. How do you match up with teams like this? And I know the Baltimore Ravens have been the same type of way. And you found a way to miraculous come back. Now, maybe that's just that's just god-awful defense on Baltimore's standpoint, because how you let number 10 behind you, just let him go and have a nice mile away from the nearest defender, doesn't make any sense to me. But when I say it's a make or break for the Dolphins, Ted, is it because of the standard? You have to beat this team. You haven't beat. Do you know that they've lost the last 7 games? They lost the last 7 games to the Bills, Ted.
Trev, here's the other thing. This game is also at home.
Yes.
So my thought process would be, like we always say, win your home games in the division. When you go 3-0 in the division, right? Win your home games. Yeah. And so you took care of New England in week 1. You won the home game. All right. You got Buffalo coming down. It's going to be hot. All right. Take advantage, because whenever you play Buffalo later in the season, it's going to be cold. You're not going up there and beating them in Buffalo.
As nobody is.
So take advantage now, right? And this Bills defense is ferocious. I mean, they're dominant, and I was just reading stuff.
They have. Hey, you brought up the Bills D. A lot of big injuries that could be affecting the impact in this game. Yes. Micah Hyde. I'm just going to give the names. Jordan Phillips, both out. Dane Jackson, who suffered a neck injury last week. Thank God he is all right and not as bad as what it looked like. God bless you. And Jordan Poirier, they're 2 all-pro safeties, could miss the game.
Which are like their quarterbacks of their defense.
Yeah.
Here's it's so weird, because you look at last week's game. You go back to last week's game, you go literally to like the 10-minute mark of the 4th quarter. Baltimore had that game in hand. They were dominant. You're like, Baltimore right now looks at, other
typical
than the Bills,
Dolphins, right?
Would have been the 3rd best team in the AFC, blah, blah, blah. Lamar looks like he's just rolling. Start ching-ching with him. And then at the end of the game, you go back and you look and you're like, damn, Miami came all the way back. They won. Tua throws for 400-plus yards, throws for 6 touchdowns. Waddle and Tyreek Hill go for 150-plus yards receiving. They both have, 2 touchdowns. They're both leading the league in receiving. I had it right here. What was it? Tyreek Hill has 284 yards. Diggs has 270, and Jalen Waddle has 240. I believe that's the 3. That's the 3 leading receivers.
Those are the 3 leading receivers right now.
Tua's leading the league in passing with 739 yards. Josh Allen's 614. You want to hear something funny? I was just reading it about Josh Allen. Josh Allen literally dominates this team. Dominates them. Mm-hmm. And what? I'm sorry.
What are you doing right now? Look at you. You're like, what's going on?
Listen, people make mistakes. Someone was
come on. Pick it up.
Here's a good streak. against the Dolphins that Josh Allen has. He has 19 passing touchdowns, 4 rushing touchdowns, and 3 turnovers in the past 7 games against Miami. So he's dominated. And Miami struggled against the passes. They're giving up a league high 9 yards per pass attempt. So that's and 71% completion percentage, which is 28. So what's this all mean? Miami's just got to play better. All right. Mike McDaniels, I trust in the offense. I trust him as the head coach. I was watching a story last night on Instagram. And what was his Hawkins? He was receiver for Cleveland Browns. And he was talking about when Mike McDaniel was the offensive coordinator for San Francisco. Andrew Hawkins. And he was talking about how when in the offensive meetings, he would show videotape of basketball games. And he would show tape of Allen Iverson's games and talking about the crossover and how in a crossover basketball player, to be a great crossover guy, you got to get your whole body to go one way and then to come back the other way. So it was, if you watch Stephon Diggs and things that the receivers and movements, a lot of things Mike McDaniel, and he did a really good job last week creating opportunities for Tua to succeed. All right, Tua did not look good in the first half. Neither did the Miami's offense, but they caught stride. This offense can be special. We talked about them.
Yeah.
You brought in Tyreek Hill. You got Jalen Waddle. You got Mike Gesicki. You got Chase Adams. You got people all over the field. All right. But here's going back to the whole thing, and I'm rambling, but the make or break. This is an important game for Miami for competitive reasons. All right. I get you won last week against Baltimore, but you really shouldn't have. It was just blown coverages by Baltimore and then a bunch of other crap that really can't be explained. Really, you should be 1-1, and Baltimore should have won by 2+ touchdowns. But this is where it starts. This is like that meter line, that metric line, where you want to be. Where do you want to be at? We know where do the Bills want. Tua, listen, if you go in and you get crushed like 31-14, I'm going to be like, all right, they're good. They'll probably still make a wild card. They just don't have the opportunity. They'll never be good enough.
But that's what I've been saying.
Now, if they can win and they can compete against this Bills team and beat them, I'm like, all right. Because here's the thing, with teams like what I talked about last week with the Giants, teams that are not used to winning, when you start winning these games, you build momentum, you build confidence, and that can lead to bigger and better things. And
the chemistry is going to continue to work with this offense too. But that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, and here's the thing: you got maybe the best quarterback. Listen, I know people are crazy thought, and you wrote this out. Josh Allen's the best quarterback.
I'm going to say it every freaking week that I'm.
Listen, until he wins a Super Bowl.
And I get it.
But he's phenomenal. Right now, there's no one better than him in the sense of athleticism, ability to throw, completion percentage, strength. He does everything better than everyone pretty much right now.
I get why.
This is going to be a tall task for Miami's defense to shut him down because right now he looks so dominant. And that offense looks so dominant, especially coming off of that Monday night domination.
And here's the thing.
They were sitting in the fourth quarter.
I'm going to say it every week. I don't care. And I know Patrick Mahomes is the standard of the AFC right now. And I get that the Buffalo Bills have not beaten the Kansas City Chiefs in a playoff game. I get that. But I am going to sit here every week and say that Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the entire world.
500 in the playoffs.
And I get it. He has, but guess what? That last game.
You got to win something though, bro.
That last game is not on him. You can never blame Josh Allen for last game, that divisional matchup against the Chiefs. Don't ever blame. So don't say, well, guess what? Blame the defense then. The defense didn't do their job. My point is about this game, and I said it at the beginning, and I know it's week 3, and we still have another 15 weeks to go to see what this Dolphins team is going to look like, what this NFL league will look like in 13 weeks, or 15 weeks, I should say. You have to beat this team in the set of where do you rank among those teams now? That playoff, are you a playoff caliber team? Are you a fringe outside type of playoff team? Are you a caliber that can go to greater places? And I'm talking AFC title game. Are we talking Super Bowl? If you can beat this team, it sends a clear message. Yes, they won last week, but we need to pump the brakes that everybody's talking about, like Tua is the second coming of Dan Marino after his improbable game last week. No, it was his greatest game he's ever had as a professional and as a football player. I get it. But a lot of those throws to Tyreek Hill, those big play touchdowns, were blown coverages. Anybody can make those throws. I bet I can make those throws too. Even though it's not I don't have a strong arm. But I can make those throws. If you want to be recognized and you
worry
want to
about
get at, hey, I could throw, but I can't throw like that. If you want to be, yeah, of course. Give me the sidearm. Let me go, Kyler Murray. If you want to get the respect around the league, is what I'm going to say. If you want respect, true respect from your peers, then you got to start beating teams like this. This is the standard of the AFC now. This is a team, the Buffalo Bills, who have dominated two teams right now, 72-17. They haven't even had competition. Week 1 could have been a far more bigger lead and a blowout against the Rams. They could have won by 30 if they wanted to. And last week, Ted, like you said, they had their starters out in the fourth quarter. This team is a juggernaut right now. Offensively, defensively, special teams, and coaching. They have something great right now in Buffalo. And if you're Miami, if you want to get the respect, I don't care if it's week 3. I don't care that you just came off of a 21-point come from behind victory. Now is the time for you. You want that respect? Go out and beat the Buffalo Bills. That's what it comes down to, because they are the standard, just like the Kansas City Chiefs. And every time we see teams like this, when you're going to have matchups like this, you have to see the level and the bar and say, the Chiefs and Bills, that's the standard of the AFC right now. There's no one else. Just like back in the day, the Patriots, where do we rank among them? Because they were the standard for the AFC for so long.
Well, the Patriots and the Colts when there was Manning.
Yeah, the Patriots and the Colts, fair enough. But those were the two standards. Where am I ranking among them?
And what is the similarity between the 4 teams? They had the 2 best quarterbacks in that division.
Oh,
Josh Allen, Mahomes.
They got the 2. They probably had the 2 best. 4 of those quarterbacks we just talked about, probably the 2 best at their respective times in the league.
Oh, absolutely.
Peyton and Brady. That was 1 and 2 all the time. Just whatever you wanted.
Mahomes and Mahomes right now, I would put 1 and 2 in the league.
Yeah.
That's not a knock on
Brady still being there.
That's not a knock on Brady and Rodgers, because I think if you put Brady and Rodgers with either of those 2 teams, put Brady and Rodgers on the Chiefs or the Bills. They'd be putting up similar numbers. Now, athletically, they can't run like Mahomes and make the plays like Josh Allen does with their legs, but both of them are tremendous. But we'll get into as another story.
So that's what I'm trying to
say. And maybe they become the Manning and Brady of the next generation of NFL stars.
Yeah, and Justin Herbert,
at least,
and then Justin Herbert or Lamar are the Big Bens. We'll see. But that's what I'm just. That's why I know
who becomes our Eli. Jimmy G.
I don't know. Oh, I don't know, man. Arch Manning. We're just waiting for Arch to come out. Waiting for the guy Archie Manning, or not Archie. We're just waiting for him to come out. Waiting for him. He's gonna be the next giant quarterback. It's all in due time. It's all part of the plan. That's all they say. It's all part of the plan. But yes, the Dolphins, I know it's week 3. Got to figure it out. That's the breaking point. Plain and simple. You beat them, then you'll get the respect. If not, you're the same old Dolphins. Let's close out with this Sunday night game between the San Francisco 49ers and the Denver Broncos. The team that, well, they can't just figure it out, the Denver Broncos. Their head coach, Nathaniel Hackett versus Kyle Shanahan, 2 completely different type coaches in the sense of smarts, literally, because it seems like Nathaniel Hackett doesn't know what the hell he's doing. It doesn't have a clue on being a head coach. This team can easily be 0-2 right now. This team has not looked good so far.
They could also be 2-0.
Offensively, but offensively, they have been in the red zone 6 times, Ted, this year. They are 0-6 with no touchdowns. That's a problem when you are led. When you are led,
ready to go, bro.
When you are led by a guy that you just paid $150 million guaranteed of Russell Wilson, that's a problem. That's a major issue. Ted, knowing that San Fran has a stout defense themselves, will the Denver Broncos figure it out this week, or will the same old that we've seen from the first 2 weeks continue?
I think they can. Now, here'll be the biggest difference. What's it? I think Kyle Shanahan's an 8th or 9th season, so he's somewhere around that. Whatever. He's got like 90 games under his belt.
Yeah.
Daniel Hackett, first time as a head coach. You know, their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator are first-time offensive coordinator and defensive coordinators for Denver. They can definitely figure it out. They could be 2-0. They've just mismanaged between the time management crap. That's the most dysfunctional.
No, that's a huge deal. That's a huge part of the game.
I know because we talked about that with Mike McCarthy last year with Dallas. And here, listen, being in the red zone 0-6, the only team worse than you or tied for worse is the Seattle Seahawks. But that's a whole nother story, and we don't care because you don't want to compare yourselves to them. You were looking to be great. So I wrote some stuff down. Now, Russell Wilson, all time, 16-4 against the 49ers. So he does really well. Now, I get it. He was playing for Seattle, different team. Can Denver figure it out? Absolutely, they can figure it out. They have the weapons, they have the team, they have the skill, they have the personnel. Defensively this year, they're 5th in the pass.
Nasty.
They're 5th in rush defense. They're 3rd in total defense, and they're tied for 3rd with points allowed with San Francisco. Offensively, they're 8th in passing. They're 9th in rushing. They're 7th total. So what does that say?
And that's the thing that's fascinating. Their offensive ranks.
The offense has moved the ball between the 20s up and down the field.
Yeah.
They just can't score touchdowns.
But that's a big deal. You can't be getting field goals.
At the end of the season, at the end of week 1, and then last week he burned 3 timeouts in the fourth quarter, all with 7 minutes and 48 seconds left with the lead.
Ted, the fans were counting the game clock.
Trev, this offense is averaging 6.1 yards per play. Here's what I would say, because this will go back to a little fantasy. Let Javonte Williams cook, bro. Let the guy run. He's averaging 5 yards a carry, bro.
He's a beast.
Get him the ball. This is like the argument with Saquon. Let him touch the ball 20 times a game.
Get your playmakers the ball.
I mean, how does the Browns know how to do it with Chubb and Kareem Hunt? I get it. The similar things that what Nathaniel Hackett should be taken away from the Green Bay Packers Monday Night Football game is Aaron Jones should be Javonte Williams. A.J. Dillon should be Melvin Gordon. Same thing. Those guys should touch the ball at least 25 to 30 times a game. And then Russ should be throwing the ball about 25 times a game, and it should be it should be all based on play action.
So you don't feel they have
the players offensively. They have the defense to match up. I get it. The safety, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. I had
Justin Simmons.
He's out for the next 3 weeks, but Surtain should be back. Their defense is good, and they're solid. I get it. They haven't really played anyone that great.
So you feel like
they probably played the 2 worst teams of football in Texas since the Texans and Seattle. All right. I get it.
Hold on. So you feel like the 49 or the Broncos should kind of shy away and going more of maybe more balanced attack slash more running?
Yes, because that's when Russ was at his best. When they had Marshawn Lynch and they were running the football downhill and play action pass, that's when Russ, the deep throws, KJ Hamler could be your Tyler Lockett. He could hit the deep bombs. You got Courtland Sutton. You got Jared Judy. You have weapons on the outside Use them, play action. I get it. Russ was the best when it was play action. When he's not, I'm sorry, I love Russell Wilson. I have him in fantasy, but he is not Josh Allen and Herbert and these guys who could just sit back and throw. He's the best when it's play action, when it's predictable run play,
and he's his best too when he's improvising.
Yes, exactly. Now here's the thing: San Francisco, they lost the first game against the Bears. I understand it was a downpour. Trey Lance looked like crap. Blah blah blah. Sad to say he's not playing for the rest of the season. Last week he gets hurt. First quarter, whatever. Jimmy G comes in. They look like a different team. San Francisco's run the ball this season more than anyone's in the league. So they're a run-based team.
We know that. We don't expect no surprise there.
Okay, so can they run the ball against Denver? That's going to be a key question, the line of scrimmage, because Denver's 5th against the rush this year. If they can shut down San Francisco, and when I say shut down, I say control. No one shuts down, I feel like, no more. But can you contain their rush attack and put the game in Jimmy G's hands? That's what I would want to do. Because I don't feel Jimmy G's good enough to beat you. That's always been the argument with Jimmy G going forward is he good enough to beat you? And it's like, no, his defense always carried him, or he's got a great running game and he wins on a couple lucky plays, or it's play action. So Nathaniel Hackett and Denver, can they figure it out? Absolutely. You got a Hall of Fame quarterback. Mm-hmm. You have weapons on the outside. You have 2 solid running backs. I think Denver wins this week. I think Denver wins at home this week. I think they figure it out. They win a close game, but they win.
I think they're losing.
They're going to win. You want to take a bet on that one?
Well, if you stay tuned, we have our predictions that we're going to put.
But no, listen, I think they can. I think they have all the pieces to be successful, Trev. I think Nathaniel Hackett should could be better at time management. But listen, Mike McCarthy.
I'm just saying it's a problem when your coach is
Mike
like.
McCarthy hasn't been great, and he's been a coach for 20 years. So
it must be a Green Bay thing, I guess. The former Green Bay coordinator / coaches. It must be.
I just wonder if Nathaniel Hackett thinks he has Aaron Rodgers in the backfield where you're going to throw the ball over the field.
My problem is
play action, and they can beat San Francisco. They have the pieces, but you know what? If they start, mismanaging clock and start making mistakes and start letting Russ throw the ball 40, 50 times a game, I don't think that's going to be successful for Denver down the road. I don't think they can beat San Francisco if they want to throw the ball over the field.
And it's a problem as well that the past 2 weeks you've come out and said, yeah, I made a mistake with certain things. That's just that's inexcusable. I don't care if you're a rookie head coach. There's a reason why you got this job. And maybe to some, the only reason why you got this job is because your quarterback was Aaron Rodgers, and that always helps, and that will always go a long way.
I also say that's part of the reason why he got the job, because I think Denver had an idea that they were going to get Aaron Rodgers in the first place in a trade instead.
And I know that this Denver franchise has been the missing piece. All we've been ever hearing is, the quarterback since Peyton Manning. I get that. But Russell Wilson is not a guy, Ted, like you said, and I agree. Russell Wilson's not a guy that's going to throw the ball 40, 50 times and beat you like that. It's just not. You need to have a balanced attack with him. They did it with Seattle. That's why they were so successful, because they ran the ball with Marshawn and they set up the play action. And it always worked. Him, Doug Baldwin, Jermaine Kearse, then DK, Lockett down the road. That's what the Denver Broncos have to do to get Russ going. And I agree with you. Get Javonte Williams the ball. He is a man amongst boys when he gets the ball in his hand. He needs to dominate. And then you could set up your play action and see what Russ can do. This game should be very intriguing. It should be a fascinating Sunday night game, because I really want to see how Denver comes back after the first 2 weeks struggling. I know they're 1-1, but it hasn't looked pretty at all. Ladies and gentlemen, we will keep an eye on the big Aaron Judge, all rise Aaron Judge, as he is still 2 home runs away from breaking Roger Maris's record. If you have Apple TV, Amazon Prime, it's the only way you can watch it. So we will be keeping an eye on that. Plus, we will be back Monday to discuss the huge NFC East showdown between the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Football Giants. We are Keys of the City. Okay, there we go. Never mind. I had to do something quick. But we are Keys of the City. We'll see you next episode. We're out.
To the Keys to the City podcast.
Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of home ownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage, an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. LoFi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Hello and welcome to the Succession Fit podcast. I'm your host, Tom Hine. Over the course of my career, I've had the opportunity to speak with literally hundreds of financial advisors about the future and potential endgame for their practices. I have found that the majority do not realize the scope and time involved in successfully selling their practices to another advisor. often advisors regret not beginning the process sooner. Valuation, discussion, negotiation, and transaction can take 9 months or more. To that end, I created a guide called the Succession Fit Scorecard to help kickstart advisors into the succession planning process. In today's episode, I'm going to highlight the key aspects that will help you get an idea of whether or not you and your practice are succession fit. So the categories are, these are the ones that are very important: relationship focused, retirement ready, adaptable, team player, growth or future thinking, goal oriented, confident, and wealth management oriented. So I'm going to go through these categories, explain what they mean, but more importantly for you, the listener, how ready are you to begin that long-term plan of succession and continuity planning? So let's start with relationship focused. Think of these categories almost like small, medium, large, extra large. We start off with the smallest possible progress that you might be at, and then as I continue in the category, I'll be explaining other options. And in the end, you can do the scorecard yourself to rank how you feel your firm is ready for the succession fit process. So in the relationship category, we'll start off saying that if you have the smaller end of it or the lower score, you have mostly transactional accounts, you rarely meet with clients, and you conduct your business over the phone. That was a more traditional transactional broker, and that would be given a score of, let's say, 1 to 3. The top score would be a 12 in that category, just to give an example. Moving forward, if you feel like your practice has progressed a bit, you can put yourself in that next category, and you might say that you talk to your clients, but you're not necessarily proactive. Most meetings are out of the office. You have decent relationships with your clients, and they like the approach that you've offered. So that would put you a little bit further up the spectrum on relationship focused. The next category, which is probably for many the most popular, is that score of 7 to 9, which is your practice is client focused. More than half the meetings are in your office, and you like your clients and you make your effort to get to know them. Now, I recognize with COVID, meetings have changed, but if you look at what your statistics were like before COVID, did you have more than half your meetings in your office? That would be a good indicator. And then the last part, the score of 10 to 12, that's the highest score in that category. Your clients are like family, right? You strive to get to know them and their families' needs and concerns. You engage in multi-generational planning, and that's where our firm is now. So my team and I have taken over a decade to perfect these things, and believe me, we all know how difficult it is, especially during the COVID times, to be in contact with clients proactively. But the most important thing for you to assess for your practice is where would you fit on this spectrum, and this scorecard is available at our website that you can link to when you're done listening. The next category down is called retirement ready. And again, think of this as a continuum from small, medium, large, and extra large, meaning you've perfected that process. So retirement ready. Right now, you're not ready to retire. You're not even thinking about it. You plan on working for 10 or more years and having a productive career. That would be a common scenario if the advisor were in his or her 40s and maybe even 50s. They're not thinking yet. The next category up says you're starting to think about a 3 to 5 year window. Maybe there's a health reason. Maybe there's a family reason you want to move to be closer to other family members. But for whatever the reason, you thought about working out a basic succession and continuity plan. And I'll explain those in detail in a moment, but that's important. The next category in retirement ready is that you are prepared for your own retirement and succession plan. It's in writing, or at least formalized, and you are likely to retire in 18 to 36 months. That would be in that 7 to 9 category, okay? We don't see a lot of people in that category, but in fact, that may be who you are, all right? And lastly, under retirement ready, you could retire today without hesitation. You have a written plan with a continuity partner in place, and you could flip the switch tomorrow. And if you do, congratulations, that's a great step. So I want to backtrack for a moment and cover a very important concept that I, all the time on the phone or in Zoom meetings with advisors, that they often get confused. And frankly, early on in my career with this, I got confused by the same terms. So when I say succession planning or continuity planning, they're not the same thing. So let me give you an example. A continuity plan says, I call it break glass in case of emergency. If you were to die tomorrow, what's written on paper, what happens to your practice? It's not something you planned, but you want to continue your practice. You want to continue your operation. You want to continue your business. So those are typically what we call a 1 or 2 page plan. They're not designed to be all encompassing, but it is an urgent situation that has to be met, because otherwise all your clients and your staff and all, they wouldn't know what to do if you passed on, unexpectedly. But a succession plan, which is the more ideal, is this longer term, well thought out, written plan. I review mine with my succession partner annually. We look at valuations, we look at what's changed in our practices. So that is a much more important, well thought out, and detailed plan, and often you make adjustments periodically. So for the rest of this podcast, if I say continuity plan, think of it as emergency. Something happened and we got to scramble. Succession plan is you really thought this thing out and you have it written down, verified by attorneys, notarized, etc. Okay? Under adaptable, the third category, again, going from small to extra large, if you will. At this point in your career, you like the status quo. You don't want to make any major changes. That probably is true of a lot of advisors. But even with COVID, we all had to adapt, right? We had to learn the Zoom meetings. We had to learn all sorts of other aspects of online communication. The next level up in adaptable is you wish you had adapted more ideas along the way to grow your business, but you feel like that it's too late now. So maybe you're at that point in your career that you want to merge with someone. You want to sell to them, and you want to have somebody bring you along in that way of adaptability. And that's a very perfectly normally good reason to find a bigger firm or a firm that has more technology to merge with them, okay? The next category up is you have made some changes over the years, but they're mostly reactionary. You reacted to things like the bear market after it happened. You reacted to 9/11 after it happened. You reacted to the great financial crisis after it happened. And that's not unusual. It's just not as proactive as we think you should be. So the last category, that score of 10 to 12 again, talks about you and your team recognize need for continual improvement. You understand the Kaizen concept, or sharpening the saw. So many of you that have read other business books know this idea of continually improving your process is very important. All the successful firms do it. And more importantly, no matter what size your firm is, from one person to 5 or 10 people, you want to have that attitude. And that would be, under adaptable, the best category score you could have. The next one is team player, okay, covering these 4 categories. You're a solo and you like it that way. No hassles, no bureaucracy. That's pretty common in a lot of the financial planning practitioners. And that works up to a certain level. You can meet with your clients, you can take care of things, but you can only grow so much. There's a point where you hit a ceiling because there's only so many hours in a day to juggle administrative, client service reviews, responding to urgent phone calls, etc. The next category up on the 4 to 6 score would be you are mainly a solo act, but acknowledge the benefit of a team approach. So maybe you thought about, do I want to hire someone to add to my team, or do I want to grow by joining another team? So that at least opens your mind to the possibilities. The third level in the score of 7 to 9 is you have a team right now, you enjoy some of the benefits, but there's no cohesive approach. So maybe people in the team are kind of running off in their own directions. Maybe you haven't organized them quite the way you want. And again, that's where firms like Capital Wealth Management and others can help you fine-tune that, because someday that team will be your biggest asset when you go to sell. And remember, right now that team is your continuity plan should something happen to you, and they could become your succession plan down the road if you negotiate that with a new firm. The last category under team player is you and your team have a shared vision, you execute on that shared vision, and you continue to grow. And I would argue the very best firms in the industry do that, so that year after year, they're either adding new people or shuffling positions to make sure that the client service part is well taken care of, as well as the review process, as well as the next step for the clients when there's a tax law change, like we're likely to see coming up this fall, or if there's an estate planning change. All these things affect the ability for the advisor and his team to communicate it to their clients, okay? The next category under growth or future thinking, the smallest progress there is you stopped marketing years ago for new clients. Growth has been flat, maybe even a bit negative, and I have seen this in practices. And my warning to all of you is, first of all, that's not good for your own psyche and confidence. Nobody wants to come into a business every day, where it's slowly shrinking. So from a mental standpoint, it's so critical to keep growing. But even if you're flatlining your growth, the point is your clients need to see that you're growing, right? They want to have the confidence in you because, trust me, every advisor thinks they have all of their clients' money invested with them. And no matter what level I've seen for advisors, they all admit that clients often will have 2 or 3 firms. Part of it may be they don't have the confidence to put it all with one firm, okay? So that's something to think about. Under the next category, you have brought on some clients in a haphazard manner, but growth is still very modest, okay? The third category there in the 7 and 9 score is you have continued to bring in new clients and gain more than the attrition is taken away every year. Growth is less than 10% a year. That's a pretty common place for a lot of firms. So it's good that you're growing, but the bottom line is you're not quite at that last category, which is we want everyone to be, is organic growth is more than 10% per year. You continue to bring in new clients and come up with creative strategies to market. That would be extremely important. And that growth can be through referrals, seminars. I would even argue acquisitions help, because when you acquire a firm, you often get referrals from that client base. All right, so the last 3 categories are going to be goal-oriented, your confidence level, and then the wealth management focus. And we'll wrap up on those. So goal-oriented. In the early category, the lower score, you don't really care to set up goals or milestones. They don't interest you. So that's one type of advisor. The next level up is you have some informal goals every year, but you don't keep track if you meet them or not. So there's no accountability. The third level, and I believe again the more common one, is you are goal-oriented and you set realistic goals in writing every year. You just don't follow through on it. So I think that's the majority of advisors out there. And then the very best ones are focused on growth, milestones, and their goals. They're an integral part of your practice. So for my team, we have a January kickoff meeting. We often review at mid-year what we're doing to make adjustments, and we'll have a year-end wrap-up. Some categories we exceeded where we wanted to be. Others we fell short, and we sit down and go, okay, what do we do to improve? So you want to have that mindset every year when you go into it, is what's going to be new. So for example, before COVID hit, we'd already been doing Zoom meetings with our clients. So we were fortunate that in a way the world caught up to us in terms of Zoom capability and some other features as well. So if you're always pushing the envelope trying to get better, when the next natural disaster happens, and who knows what it'll be, you'll be that much more prepared to take that next step. Under the confidence category, the smallest level is you're not confident that a majority of clients would follow you to a new firm, right? That is a concern. I had this one advisor years ago out of state who came to a closing in this very room. He was about to sign the document, and he was so nervous because he said, when I look at all the things that your firm offers and I didn't do this for my clients, I would feel embarrassed. And he actually never went through with the closing, even though he was giving up tens of thousands of dollars in revenue because we were going to pay him for the transition of those clients. He actually couldn't go through with it, but it was more out of shame than out of fear. So that was just one real live example. The second category, you're mildly confident that many clients would follow you to a better future. Again, not the ideal score that you want to have. The third one is that the majority of clients would make the change, but you would have to work to sell them on the idea. Again, when you're doing a transition, this would be a succession plan, well thought out. We would rehearse that with you well in advance to tell you or to suggest to you what your clients want to hear. And believe me, I've seen advisors all over the landscape here make mistakes. Some of them talk too much and they get their clients nervous. Some don't say enough. There's that sort of Goldilocks. You want that right combination of giving them enough information but not scaring them, okay? And lastly, it says your clients are raving fans. They send you referrals and they would gladly follow you to a better future. And I'm proud of my team. Years ago when we transferred broker-dealers about 10 years ago, one of our favorite jokes is many of our clients, as soon as they got that paperwork to transfer, my joke was that the exhaust fumes from the FedEx truck hadn't left the driveway before the client was here with the paperwork, right? He literally drove over that day and said, here are the transfer forms. I can't wait to join you in your new venture. So we often reflect on the fact that if you have a great service model and your clients know and hear from you regularly, when there is a change, it won't be like, whoa, what happened to Tom and his firm? They're going to say, well, this is part of the process of growing and adapting to a bigger future, okay? So the last category under wealth management oriented is that you are primarily transaction oriented and not too involved in your clients' lives. Again, there are practices like that. They tend to get a lower valuation, a lower multiple. They don't sell for as much, but they often have some great clients. So that's one way to run your practice. If you're the next level up, you are moderately involved with your clients and their families through transactions, so likely to have more of them follow you and maybe a slightly higher valuation. The third category, which is one of the sweet spots, is you have a financial planning focus and know the benefit of such a concept, but you lack the follow-through. And again, I can only share with the audience, I've learned from some of the brightest minds in financial planning in this industry. So I'm the first to tell you, I go to 2 coaching programs. I absorb as much as I can. I know there's too much out there for one person to know it, but I want to share that with you. So sometimes you would rather be the librarian, right, than the library. I need to know how to get the information. I don't have to be the library to get it all to you. The last category of wealth management, which is ideal, is you have a well-oiled machine that continually focuses on new wealth management concepts while fine-tuning the old ones. So for example, what we would share with you is when you integrate financial planning, which is running all the analysis, right, projections, what will it look like when I'm retired? What will my IRAs be worth? How much money can I draw off and live on? What about my beneficiaries? All that planning should be integrated with what we call the asset management part, right, which is how you grow the client's money. And if you integrate them together, what we found is it gives the client a better picture of not just, oh, great, my advisor is making me money. That's a good thing. But what does that mean to me and my family in the long run? How much can we live on? Can I give some to the kids? Can I give some to the grandkids? So in that last category, we want to make really sure that if you don't have this well-oiled machine, that you can seek out the help, whether it's our firm or someone else's, on getting you structured to do that. Because in the end, if your client outgrows you, and this has happened to everyone, including me early on in the career, if your client feels like their asset size or their sophistication has outgrown you, they will move to another firm. And I have seen many advisors, get emotionally hurt when their longtime clients, the best friends, they had them to dinner, will say, we just inherited a lot of money and we really feel comfortable going to XYZ firm, even though the advisor could have taken care of all of it, but it was the perception of the client that they need a bigger firm. And a lot of times we know perception can count a lot more than reality. So with that, the big takeaway that I would like to advisors to get from the Succession Fit Scorecard, right, the one that you can get and do online, is the feeling of taking that first step towards protecting your life's work. It can show you how to be prepared, or if you're unprepared, for your company for the sale or merger. So a lot of people might want to merge their company, but you still have to go through this process because think about this. You want to tell the person you're merging with, hey, here's the value I'm bringing to you, so that someday if I sell to you, I need to know what the value was when I started and then compare it down the road. So as far as where you should go from here, the matter is both mind and heart, right? statistical analysis and crunching numbers is very, very important. Don't get me wrong. That's a big part. But ultimately, your intuition and your thoughts, you have to have careful consideration about the options and consequences that you have of your decisions. And that's critical for you to grow your firm, but to take care of your family, your clients, your spouse, and your children. So it's not just about you oftentimes, it's about multiple people. So if you would like to check out the scorecard for yourself, you can find that on my website, www.capitalwm.com, capitalwm.com. And then until next time, we'd like to talk to you about further ideas in the Succession Fit podcast. Thank you very much.
There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit Shamrock Home Inspections